Chat, we did the white cards, we did the blue cards, we're on the black. Okay? And,
Thank you for touring Arcadia. I hope you enjoy your stay.
hey, Medine, appreciate it. So, we're on to the black cards. Just for a good measure for you YouTubers. Alright? Like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Socials are in the description below because we do this live and you get the live reactions and the live thing. But hey, YouTubers also the same stuff. Hey, we're getting right to the cards. All right. Annihilating Glare. 1 black sorcery. As an additional cost to the spell, pay 4. Or sacrifice an artifact. Or sacrifice a creature. Or sacrifice your kidney. Or the blood of your firstborn child with, you know, your right leg and your left arm and everything else. And then after you do all that as an additional cost, or destroy target creature or planeswalker. So, we already have this effect, similar effect in Eaten Alive, but this one, you get to sacrifice an artifact. And normally, I would tell, like, at first I thought, man, this card's bad, right? But, Exile is, for Planeswalkers, is not that big of a deal. Differentiating anyway. But the main difference between this card and Eaten Alive, which are both standard legal, by the way, is that you get to sacrifice blood tokens to this. So, where Eaten Alive, you couldn't sacrifice, like, non-creature artifact, you know, permanents. You get to do that with this. So, you could sacrifice, you know, experimental, what's the stupid 1-mana artifact? Whatever that 1-mana artifact is. Experimental something. And you can, you know, a bunch of, this goes well with Iconoclast and, you know, a bunch of other stuff. But the fact that just the fact that you get to be able to sacrifice artifacts, not necessarily creatures, is why this card is actually, like, might actually see play over Eaten Alive. Because the Exile clause on specifically Planeswalkers doesn't really matter. What really matters is can you get more utility out of something and you don't care about whether or not it's going to be in the graveyard or not. And because you could sacrifice blood tokens or treasures or incidental artifacts is why this ceiling on this one is a little bit higher than Eaten Alive. Bloodchief's Thirst did rotate, yes. So, yeah, you can play this with Anvil. This goes well with any other of the other artifacts. Like I said, the experimental 1-mana artifact that, you know, I can't think of the stupid fucking card. So, but yeah, this card's actually very, very playable. Specifically in the Rakdos Sacrifice decks, because we do have that. So, and Rakdos is very good. So, this just gets a 1-mana removal spell, basically. Alright, Anoint with Affliction. 1 colorless, 1 black, instant. Exile target creature if it has mana value 3 or less. Corrupted. Exile that creature instead if its controller has 3 or more poison counters. Basically, how this card works is it's better than Eliminate, and if your opponent has 3 or more poison counters, it's exile target creature. The end. This card is obnoxious. So, while... Oh, I forgot. We are at 425. Change title. I hope. No. All right. Well, I guess we're stuck at 424 still. Up. Anyway. No. So So a lot of people are saying this card's very good, and I do think it's very good. The problem is that this is not Eliminate. So you don't get to hit Planeswalkers with this. And I think that's what makes this card worse than it actually reads. Yeah, you get to exile any creature, but I mean, this doesn't hit Shieldred on the way in, and you have to hope that, you know, you get to toxic 3 or 3 poison counters beforehand. And honestly, I'd much rather have Tear Asunder. Like, this is okay in like certain aspects of certain decks, but this is not like fill your deck full of stuff. Like, you know, this is gonna be like, unless you're playing toxic, like this card doesn't see play. Like, legitimately. I think this card reads, like, people are gonna say this card's very good and it reads better than it says. And at first I thought it was obnoxious until I looked at it that it doesn't say, it only is creature. And that's a liability. I don't know. I'm a little bit lower on this card than I thought initially after reading it, because I thought it was creature or planeswalker for some reason. Now it's only creature. It is an instant, so like it does trade up with 3 mana value, obviously, but I mean, the exile part doesn't really matter, except for Underdog. But you literally have, you have, you're already playing Go for the Throat, and you're already playing, exile stuff anyway, like Graveyard Trespasser and other stuff. So, like, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sold on it yet, because exiling creatures, especially, like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just like, I'm lower on it than most others are. Yeah, you don't need the Corrupted Clause. I'm just saying. Like, the exile part in older formats is probably more relevant than in standard also, so. Archfiend of the Dross. 2 black, 2 colorless, Phyrexian Demon, 6/6 flyer. Archfiend of the Dross enters the battlefield with 4 oil counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove an oil counter from Archfiend of the Dross. Then, if it has no oil counters on it, you lose the game. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, its controller loses 2 life. Boy, oh boy. So, we have a billion 4-drop 6/6 flyers in black that are basically, you know, synergy or disincentivize you to keep it around. You're either trying to proliferate to keep it out on the battlefield longer, or you're giving it to the opponent. Like, that's it. Those are the only 2 choices. You can kill the opponent before, like, if you just regularly kill stuff. But, I mean, is this really worth playing over anything else? Like, what in black that's a 4-drop are you cutting to play this? Like, you literally have to basically play that. That's why I said this card's a niche card. You're either playing it in the sense of you're trying to donate it to him, or you're like using it to, you know, destroy it when they got, because you're trying to kill the opponent. This is an aggro card. This is like one of those, you know, hyper aggressive. This is a curve topper in the aggro decks, and like, you could just play better cards. Like I said, this is one of those, like, you're making some concessions so that you're playing a synergistic deck to give this to somebody else. So, yeah, there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, but it does the thing already. It's like, yeah, but this isn't Shieldred. Like, Shieldred kills you faster, I think, in my opinion, but maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But Yeah, I saw people on Twitter talking about how like this is like comparable, and I'm like, I got nothing. Like, like I don't see it. So, maybe, but yeah, I'm not into that. If that makes sense. So, maybe not, but nah. You could easily, make it to, other cards, but nah, right? All right. Bilious Skull Dweller. One mana Phyrexian Insect 1/1 Death Touch Toxic 1. So this is basically a 2/2. All right, because it says Toxic 1. 1 mana 1/1 Death Touchers are nothing to write home about. But the fact that this says this has Toxic, all right, this is the black aggro card. All right, so if you're playing the Toxic deck, okay, and you're doing it with aggro stuff, the issue that I see with this card is you're only pairing this with other, like, Toxic cards. So, like, you're pairing it with either green cards or white cards. There's nothing wrong with that. The issue is that your mana sucks. Because you don't have the fast lands. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I spoil that? So, you're either in green-black, or you're in black-white, or you're in Abzan and you don't have a Triome either. Not saying you would play it, just like you don't have any of the fast lands, right? So you're kind of already at a disadvantage. But Death Touch is relevant. And honestly, I honestly would play black or green-black Toxic over green-blue or green-white. Specifically Toxic. Just because you have this. And this being a Death Touch creature, they have to either deal with it or you're trading up with it. So, like, you're using the fight spells, and you're using this, and you're fighting, like, Childreds, and you're trading. Albeit a 2-for-1, but you don't feel bad about it because you're killing a 1/1. You're killing a 4/5 with a 1/1 and a spell. So you're paying 2 mana and 2 cards to kill, that type of stuff, right? That's the only application I see for this. Nothing else. But if you're playing Toxic, you're probably playing this. If you're playing black. Black Sun's Twilight. X, black, instant, up to 1 target creature gets -X until end of turn. If X is 5 or more, return a creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Alright, so a lot of people I've seen on Twitter are claiming that this is the best Twilight. And I don't know if I agree or not. I'm not saying that I disagree. I'm just saying I don't know if I agree or not. Reanimating a creature at instant speed is insane. Problem is that it's reanimated tapped. So you don't get to block with it. But X spells like this generally do not see play. And if they do, they're not generally used as a 4-of. And this is not a 4-of to me. This is like a round out, like I need something that I need the negative X for, but like this is like a 1-of, max 2-of, or 2 in my 75. But I don't know. Like I said, reanimating is a big deal, and this is the cheapest one, and the X of 5 is 6 mana, and you get it at instant speed. But how often does that happen? And that really is going to be the dip, because, if you're paying 5, 6, 7, 8 mana for this, like, yeah, that's great. But the issue is that you're already playing a crap ton of those already in black anyway. Gix's Command, Cruelty of Gix, and many others, right? Yeah, exactly. But I don't see that being a lot of them. And maybe a couple of them that you would want this in, but you can't target them anyway. So, like, as Chad said, or as Medine said, it may be the best one, but it doesn't make it good. Drivnoid Carnage Dominus. 3 colorless, 2 black legendary creature, Phyrexian Horror. 8/3. I'm already disappointed. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Phyrexian 2 Phyrexian black. Exile 3 creature cards from your graveyard. Put an indestructible counter on Drivnoid Carnage Dominus. I think this card is not good. This is not the best one in my opinion. But this, no. Listen. Now, I will say, it doesn't cost any mana to give it indestructible. So, if you have 3 creatures in the graveyard, great. If you don't, dying to a Braid feels really, really bad. Like, that's gotta be embarrassing, right? Like, why couldn't they make this an 8/4? Like, why specifically 8/3? Like, don't you feel like a total asshole that you paid 5 mana for this and you died to Lightning Strike? Like, come on, man. This is... No. This card's bad. Like, there's so many better 5-drops. I mean, like I said, I agree, and I'm sure that somebody's going to get had by this. Somebody is going to get owned by the indestructible counter. The fact that they're going to play this, they're like, oh, I'm going to get him. I'm going to Lightning Strike it. I'm going to go for the throat. I'm going to get him. And then you find out that you had 3 creatures in the graveyard and you just got owned. So, yeah, it's going to happen. But if you're playing incidental graveyard hate to begin with, like Corpse Appraiser, then yeah, you're fine. Drown and Ichor. 1 black, 1 colorless sorcery. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. Proliferate. Here's the premier removal spell in the format that's not named Go for the Throat. This basically hits everything but Children. The issue that I have is not that it's sorcery, is that it's -4/-4. And, but it's good. Like, it kills practically everything. And you don't feel bad using it. And you don't have to worry about indestructibility. And you get Proliferate. This might be in the top 10 cards in the set. Might be. The only contention is that it's a sorcery. But, again, it's easier to cast than, say, Grasp with Darkness. And you get some added benefit of not only... You get better than Grasp with Darkness because it's easier to cast, and you get Proliferate. Problem is that the trade-off is it's not instant anymore. But I'm more than willing to take the sorcery speed aspect of it because of how powerful it is. And, yeah. Proliferate is the only reason why this card's playable. If this did not have Proliferate, this card sucks. Because you would just play Go for the Throat or Infernal Grasp over it. But this actually gets some contention because you have Proliferate. But again, only in standard. Like, there's so many good removal spells in older formats that this is not good enough. I think the reason why... I think if it had -5/-5, it'd be too good. Even if it was double black. Yeah. Because then it would virtually be better than Go for the Throat. Specifically. Because it kills everything. And you get the Proliferate. Geth Thane of Contracts. 2 black, 1 colorless, legendary Phyrexian zombie. 3/4. Other creatures you control get -1/-1. 2 black, 1 colorless, tap. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains if this creature would leave the battlefield. Exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Activate only as a sorcery. I really tried to find a home for this, and the fact that your creatures are -1/-1 is already upsetting. Because the majority of the creatures that you want to play with this are 1 toughness. So, like, I don't see it. Because the good creatures that I want to play with this are, like, really, really cheap. And, like, yeah, what black creature are you playing that you want to return? It's only your creatures. It's not theirs. It's only creatures you control. That's why this card sucks. I mean, if it was all creatures, then yeah, this card would be insane. It would be basically, what was that creature? I can't remember. It's a 4-drop in, yeah, nah. There's no card that I want to bring back outside of bigger creatures. And I would much rather, like, I don't want my creatures to get, I'm over it. Phyrexian Arena is back, chat. 2 black, 1 colorless enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So this card is not good anymore. All right. Time has passed. Its time has passed. And, yeah, power creep is real. So, like I said, the majority of the cards that used to be good are now tacked on creatures. So you already have Phyrexian Arena, but it's better. It's called Gix. Gix is basically Phyrexian Arena on steroids. All right? And doing nothing on turn 3 is not good. Okay? So, if you thought about playing Phyrexian Arena, play with Gix and you'll understand why, you know, you can't play Phyrexian Arena anymore. Like, the enchantment draw extra cards are just not good. Gix is just way better. Like, solves all your problems. There he is in all his motherfucking glory. Phyrexian Obliterator is back. Quad black. Phyrexian Horror, trample, 5/5. When a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. This saw a crap ton of play the last time it was in. I'm not sure how good it is in here, because it does have contention with Childred, but it does have trample. So, I think you're just playing them together. And if you're not playing any 4-drops but Childred, then this is in the sideboard for aggro decks, but Childred's already good against them. So, I don't think this card's better than Childred. I think you just kind of like split the difference. You like play like 2 and 2 or 3 and 2 or, you know, whatever. But yeah. I also think the art is worse, but that's just me. I like the original art. But yeah, this card's good. I just don't know, like, I don't know. I think, like, I want this to be good, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think, like, power creep is real, and it was very good when it was in standard originally, but, I mean, like, I don't know. I will be playing with it in Explorer, though. Nykthos? So, yeah. I mean, you just go for the throat in, and that's fine. Well, I know, but all right. Scheming Aspirant. 1 colorless, 1 black. Phyrexian Advisor, 1/3. When you proliferate, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Notice there's no text after that. As in, it only triggers once each turn, or you gotta pay 2 mana, or you gotta pay 1 mana, or triggers only as a sorcery, blah, 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 blah. No, it just happens. All right? Whenever you proliferate, your opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. I put this in here because there's a lot of proliferate, and this could easily deal 6 or 8 damage. And it's also a creature that can attack. So I'm not saying that it's good enough. I'm just saying that if you're playing proliferate cards, you might be playing this. Because 2 damage is a lot. I mean, we'll see. Like, I want to play with this in the proliferate deck, so. I mean, I think aggro decks are going to be a lot more played. Like, I think aggro decks are actually going to see a lot more play. Because the mana is very good for aggro decks. Like, finally. Right? But that's it. Not anything in any other format but standard. And only niche. Shieldred's Edict. 1 black, 1 colorless. Instant. Choose 1. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature token. Each opponent sacrifices a planeswalker. So, two mana is better than 3. And sacrificing and differentiating the utility of either targeting a token or a non-token creature is very good. Like, there's a difference. The issue I have is it's 2 mana. Therefore, if it was 3, it would say, like, I don't know, you know, the one that has the greatest power. But the only thing that I care about with this is the fact that it says Planeswalker. 2 mana, get rid of a Planeswalker is very good. Any Planeswalker. And if for some reason the opponent has a creature token and a giant creature, you can differentiate them. But I think this rounds out your removal suite. Like, this would probably start in my decks as a 2-0. And then play like a 3rd one if there's a lot of stuff that this matters. But I don't think this replaces any of your removal spells in any way. Like, you're not slotting this over Go for the Throat or a Braid or whatever. But like, this rounds it out. Because like I said, like, black already has a lot of good removal already. It has Go for the Throat, Invoke Despair, and like Infernal Grasp. Like, what else do you need? I understand that Shieldred's Edict gets a lot of stuff. And actually, there is a couple cards in the set that actually warrant why you would play this. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying, like, you're not subbing this in over anything else. You're just kind of like rounding it out with like 1 of or 2 of and then having an extra one in the sideboard. But like, yeah, possibly, but I don't see that being a thing as much. Like, people will start playing it, but like I said, the black decks already have a good amount of removal that doesn't target them, and then you just have Invoke Despair, and they're gonna sacrifice it anyway. So like, it doesn't matter if they had the indestructible counter or not. Just like, it's good. It's just it's not subbing over the removal that you're already playing. Is all I'm saying. But it being an instant is actually relevant. Like, most of these effects are usually sorcery speed. So the fact that it's an instant also is relevant. Yeah, that's possible. Like, I could see that. Vat of Rebirth. 1 black artifact. Whenever another artifact or creature you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put an oil counter on Vat of Rebirth. 2 colorless, 1 black. Remove 4 oil counters from Vat of Rebirth. Not sacrifice, just remove. Return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So the first thing I thought of with this card was Cat Oven. And Pioneer. And I have no idea what other card wants this. Yeah. I don't know. I got nothing. Like, I guess the Rakdos Sacrifice deck in Standard could play it. Because you'll get to 4. So being able to, use this on bigger creatures is actually relevant. And if you're ever proliferating, then you also get that. So, and then being able to like swap also is relevant. So, yeah. I think Rakdos is better than Jund, in my opinion, in Explorer Pioneer. But yeah. Mostly in the Rakdos deck. I don't know what other deck would want this outside of that, unless you're playing with Proliferate and you're getting to 4 a lot. So, Vran, Executioner Thane, 1 black, 1 colorless, legendary creature, Phyrexian Vampire. 2/2. Whenever one or more other creatures you control die, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This ability triggers only once. Oh boy. I think if this card did not have the ability to trigger only once, like if that clause wasn't in it, this card would be busted. So like the fact that I think it has to be on there, because if it didn't have that, this card would be absolutely absurd. Probably top 5 in the set, no question. But it's still good enough. Like Sacrifice could play it, Vampires and Explorer could play it. If you're doing any type of shenanigans like Esper Legends or any type of creature deck, then so be it. This also pairs well with any of those stuff, like your reanimating stuff. So like, this is a good 2-drop. How good will determine, this seems very good against those decks that play a lot of one-for-one removal, but ain't very good against the sweepers. Because imagine, like, yeah, I guess that's why that's on there. It only triggers once a turn. Because imagine if you had like 4 creatures and you couldn't play sweepers, essentially. Because this would just ruin you, right? But Cat Oven, yeah. This Cat Oven, you're basically taking 3 damage, 4 damage a turn. with Mayhem Devil, no less. Good God, Sacrifice has a lot of tools. This card's so good. And you don't even need to play a lot of them. You just play like 1 or 2. Yeah, this card seems very good. Last but not least, Vraska, Betrayal's Sting. 4 colorless, 1 black, 1 Phyrexian black. Legendary creature, Planeswalker, Vraska. Completed. 6 starting loyalty, 0. Draw a card and you lose 1 life. Proliferate. -2, target creature becomes a treasure artifact with sacrifices artifact. So basically it becomes a treasure and loses all other abilities and types. So it basically becomes a treasure. And -9, the ultimate. If target player has fewer than 9 poison counters, they get that number of poison counters equal to the difference. So basically, when you -9, they're getting 9 poison counters. This is a kill condition all on its own, because, yeah, basically. But if you interact with the 0 before it resolves, it will still be 6. So like, for example, I'm just using this as an example, like this will ever happen, but it's not a +1. So if you activate the 0, it still stays 6 until the entire ability resolves. So if you have like Unholy Heat that has Delirium, it'll take the 6 damage before it proliferates and goes to 7. So I don't think that matters in this context. Just but yeah, virtually a +1. The -9, basically, if you ever get to ultimate with this and you have a proliferate, they're dead. So this seems like a very good control card in the sense that you get to plus it. But what deck wants this? Like, I understand that Vraska is very good, like in the context in a vacuum, like a 6-mana walker that can come in at 5 mana and it'll have 5 starting loyalty. Like, yeah, sure. But again, like, what deck wants this? Because I think you would want this in a deck that takes advantage of the proliferate and you're building around the idea that you don't really care about the toxic because they're getting nine poison counters. So I think this is in a deck of blue black or something that uses a lot of the proliferate stuff. And if nothing else, like if you minus and it stays on the battlefield, like they're dead anyway. So at least blue black, possibly Jun, but at least blue black or green black, but it's more of a control-y card than anything else. All right. That's all the black cards. Not as many as the others, but had a little bit more playability than the others. I still think white is still out of the stuff we spoiled so far. White still has like all the insane cards. Like white is not white's gonna be good. All right. Black decent. The blue cards, So, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for content like this, for set reviews, explore, standard, constructed, semi-competitive, on the ladder, ranked, and Twitchers will be going to red. YouTubers are going to have to wait, and when the next video comes out, and we'll see you in the next one.